Welcome to the Cleanup Restoration Business Podcast. Today we're going to talk to Michael from Magic Home Restoration out in Long Island. And Michael's going to share with us his tips on finding joy in the work that you do while also focusing on serving the customer. Welcome to the Cleanup Restoration Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and today I've got with me Michael Hughes from Long Island, and we're going to chat a little bit about his experience, his business, and what he's doing to be successful in the restoration industry. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So let's begin by just telling everybody a little bit about you and your company. I know you've got a lot of history in the industry, but yet your company is a bit newer than that experience. Can you tell us kind of how you got into the industry, Michael, and what caused you to decide to open your own venture?
So I have an extensive background in the industry. I started when I was about 14 years old. It was my dad's subcontracting business, so I got in as a kid and making a lot more money than any of my friends, where they were making their 14 an hour. Well, actually, back then it was 6 an hour. I would make $100 a day. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then I really got hooked because it was nice to be able to be there when the homeowner's in their worst time and be able to help them come back to a restorative spot where you feel like you're helping them through the process and watching them go from their worst moments back to their best moments. You dry them out and you help them along the way, you guide them. So yeah, about 14 years old, I got in with my dad. He was a subcontractor. Worked with him for many years, worked up to being his crew chief. His business eventually closed. So I went out on my own, ended up becoming a project manager with Surf Pro, worked with 911 Restoration, with Rainbow Restoration, all the major franchises. What caused me to open my own was realizing how things are done in the franchise world, and even the smaller groups out there, realizing how things were done by them. My focus was always, and still is to this day, has been on being there for the homeowner and making sure that their end of the bargain is taken care of and that they are the central focus. Not really so much making the highest buck on each customer, but really making sure that their family is treated like my own family. Because I know if I was in this situation with my two young kids, I'd want my home restored properly, efficiently, and as quick as possible.
No, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you sharing that. Michael, you mentioned one of the things we hear a lot of times that is probably one of the bigger contention points with homeowners, especially when they're dealing with it, the damages. Talk to me a little bit about how does Magic deal with that when you get to that homeowner, they're in the middle of a crisis. How do you help get them to relax as much as possible in that situation, and how do you gain their trust when you show up on site?
So my first thing is to be relatable. I a lot of times they're families too. So when I come in, I am a family oriented person. My business, first and foremost, is for my family. I have two young boys, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and that's really who I'm building the business for. So when I come in your door, my goal is to immediately comfort you and calm you and let you know that, it could be a lot worse of a situation. We're going to get you through this. Um, I want to relate to the customer and the client at all times and show them that they're in good hands and that I'm here to help, and not just make a buck off them and then get out of their hair. My phone's always on. I am the owner. I'm on site every single job site, and they get that comfort of knowing that they're cared about, not just another project that we're working on that we're going to put to the side and wait for the bigger one to come in. So immediately, first thing I do when I walk in, eye contact, shake hands, introduce myself, give a little bit of background, and then walk them through what we're going to do each and every single step of the process, and let them know that from A to B, Magic Home Restoration is there to help you through the situation and get you back on your feet, get your home back to livable standings, and restore you, like it never happened, and make it feel like magic.
Oh, that's excellent. Great. One question I love to ask, and I know it's an odd way to start off at a certain extent, but as you started your business and you got Magic up and running, can you share a difficult experience that maybe you dealt with that you had to overcome? Maybe it was even before you started Magic, but just in that industry. What's the most difficult experience that you've come across, and how did you overcome that?
So in this industry, it's really just never knowing when the next job's going to come in. In the beginning, I didn't really have a grasp on social media. I didn't have a grasp on the internet aspect of it, SEO, navigating that world. So really, we were strongly referral based, and in the very beginning, I was so new that that first referral took a long time to get in. Um, It was really just a matter of gritting my teeth and having that cash flow to continue growing until I got to the point where now I'm okay if a job doesn't come in for a couple days and I can balance out life and work. And another aspect, obviously, is the emergency service nature of it. It's a 24-hour business, so you could be laying in bed one minute or out to dinner, and you get a phone call and you got to run. And that's tough to deal with, tough to get your family to understand. You have to have your babysitter, who I'm lucky is my mother, on call 24/7. Um, and your significant other has to know that if a job comes in, you got to leave and go. It's a tough business to be in that aspect, but you're there to help people, and you're there to do that emergency service. And I guess that getting over that little hump of knowing that got to go when you got to go it was a difficult aspect in general of this business.
Oh, that's a good share, and I think that's something we hear pretty often. I know one of the things we often talk about, just from a business standpoint, and understanding that part of the goal here is to highlight some of your best practices and what you've done. In your experience, Michael, what have you found are the effective ways that you can upsell a customer to provide them with better value, as opposed to being the pushy car salesman? In other words, we all know, you can go in there and you can talk about upsells and various options and all that, and you can just be pushy, and that doesn't tend to go over well, certainly with the customer in the long run. What things have you found to be effective as ways to upsell, and how do you explain that extra value that brings to the customer with sometimes additional cost?
So when we go into the rebuild, then that's really where the whole upselling comes in. I like to make the homeowner understand that you got this opportunity in front of you to have a brand new area, whatever the area may be. If it's your basement, your kitchen, you had a flood in your dining room. I always like to tell them that now you have an opportunity to rebuild this the way you want to. So I always introduce different floorings. If they had carpet, I always introduce a nice vinyl laminate stick down, and I always go with something that's a bit more waterproof to go back in. Um, I don't push it on them ever, but I do like to imply the impression that obviously if you do this the right way, you're going to up your resale value down the line. Long Island housing market is very hot right now. And if you're ever looking to sell, obviously the better product that you have in your home, the more that you're going to get value wise out of it in the long run. And I like to have the homeowner know that at the end of the day, your project is going to look beautiful when we're all said and done. And you have a nice new flooring in, new type, new look, and new cabinetry potentially. Obviously there's additional costs required, but when you upgrade, you feel better about the product at the end of the day. You get to come in, you get to look at your home, and you get to feel like, well, you live in a beautiful place.
No, I think that's a great example of how that adds additional value to the customer as well, because like you said, they have that unique opportunity because of the damage that occurred or whatever. They have that opportunity to say, okay, maybe I wasn't going to upgrade for a while down the road, or maybe I was going to live with it. But now you've got that opportunity, instead of just living with it, to actually make it something you love, and really get the most out of that asset, which is your home at that point. So, Michael, I should have asked you this up front. I didn't. Do you also do commercial, or do you stick to residential primarily?
So we do both commercial and residential. I'd say right now we're about 80/20 residential to commercial. But we do it all. We service all of Long Island, Suffolk County, Nassau County, Queens. We're actually branching into the 5 boroughs now.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but we actually, yeah, we service it all. So, residential, commercial. Obviously, our company name is Magic Home Restoration, not to deter from the commercial properties, but we do it all.
No, understood. And I'm assuming in that moment of need, the people aren't too concerned about the name on your business card. They're
Correct.
concerned about your experience and what you can bring to the table there. So,
Absolutely.
Michael, I love to ask, what makes you the person or the company? What makes Magic Home Restoration that company that I should come to when I need services, as opposed to one of your competitors? I mean, what sets you guys apart?
Well, there's a lot that makes us different. I think first and foremost is our attention to detail on every project. We don't leave a mess. We make it like we were not there at all. Our tagline is that we restore your home like magic, and that's 100% true. We make it look like it was magically done, like you snapped your fingers and the disaster was cleaned up. I am the owner. I'm on site every job, whether I'm actually working on the field, which a lot of times you'll see me on the field on my hands and knees with a hammer, pulling nails, ripping the drywall myself, because I like to have my input on every single project we're on. We don't deter projects. We don't make it secondary. you'll see these serve pros that come in and treat the customer like it's just a job. We're not just treating you like you're a job. We're treating you like you're our family. It's from my family to yours, or from my business to yours, the way I'd want to be treated if someone was in my home or my business. That's the way we're treating you. And that's what sets us apart, is that we put our caring family touch on every single job site we enter.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, you've been in the industry for a while, and you've got a lot of experience from your dad having been there. There's a lot of different things you could have chosen to do when you decided to start your own gig, though, and do that. What caused you to stick into the restoration industry as opposed to doing just building or any other part of it? What drew you to the restoration side of the business?
So there's a common expression with any person who's ever been in this industry. Once you're in it, you really don't get out. It's so unique. Every time that you step in a job site, it's a different approach to it. Whether it's a water damage that's just as common as the last water damage, or your sewage backup, or even a biohazard claim, everything is different, and every homeowner has a different story behind them. And I can tell you, sometimes when you talk to these people, you hear life stories that you never think you hear. You hear history. Sometimes you see that they wrote a novel or a book, and it's amazing the stories you hear. And the aspect of it that keeps me in it, again, is the helping nature of it. I love the fact that you're entering at someone's worst moments, their most stressed moments, and you get to help them get back to where they feel like they have some sort of order, whether you're just doing the dry out or you're doing the full rebuild and getting them all the way back to order. You feel like you had some part in calming them down and setting them straight and realizing that, okay, this happened, but at the end of the day, we're going to get through this. And I love that aspect of it. I love being able to help and at the same time make money to get my family, by. The two go hand in hand, and it's an amazing industry to be in. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in this world or in any other field.
Reminds me of a statement that my grandfather used to tell me many years ago when I was a young, actually a boy, not even a man. And he always talked about that concept that if you love what you do, most days don't seem like work,
Right.
and what a better way to make a living than doing something you're passionate about. That's great.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, one of the things about the podcast is obviously it's shown to businesses and property owners and even people that are thinking about open restoration companies all across the United States. As someone with experience like you have, what if you could give one piece of advice to somebody maybe in Las Vegas, I'll just pick a city, but that was looking to start and get into the industry? What's one piece of advice you'd give somebody as they were looking at this industry?
Communication skills. Know how to talk to people, know how to walk them through, know how to understand that they're in a situation that to them may seem like the end of the world. You're going to walk into hundreds of jobs. You're going to see this every day of the week. Sometimes you're going to see 5, 6, 7 large disasters. Sometimes $1 million homes you're going to walk into that maybe just has a hole in the wall. But to them, it's the end of the world. To them, it's a disaster. It's their house. It's their property that burnt down. And it's not just one of 100 jobs to them. To them, it's the job. It's their home. And you have to understand, you have to know compassion and know how to separate money from human nature. And you have to bring the two together and understand that, yes, you're going to make money, but you have to be a compassionate person and you have to understand the situation that you're walking into. Because so many times there's a disconnect there, and at the end of the day, it just leaves a sour taste in someone's mouth. So if you're looking to get into this industry, it's you have to be the type of person to understand the situation that you're walking into. And you also have to understand that there's going to be downtimes. It's not, a go business. There are ups and downs. So you have to know how to balance your cash flow. When you're busy, that's when you're going to make your money. When you're slow, that's when you got to store your money. And you have to know that, it's a tough industry to be in that sense. It's emergency service based, and there's not always emergencies.
Oh no, it's so true. And I think the restoration industry in particular, amongst all those industries that I've worked with over my career, is very much that way. It's so focused on events that are happening that are outside of our control, but then knowing how to appropriately respond to them and grow a business as a result. Speaking of growing a business, one of the things that I don't know if it's as big of an issue in Long Island as it is here in the Midwest, but it's finding good employees, good team members. Is that something you're struggling with out in Long Island as well, Michael?
Right now, I think the world is struggling with that. It seems after Corona, no one wants to go back to work. I don't know if the unemployment and the checks were so good that people just rather sit home, but it's difficult to find any help right now. Luckily, I have a solid employee technician who will come with me to any job site. I lucked out when I found him, young kid, hungry to learn. Um, but it is difficult to find, your crew chiefs, your standard guys, especially in an industry where you're telling them, I'm going to try to get you 40 hours a week, but I can't guarantee it every week.
Sure.
It's not the easiest industry in the world to get a full-time employee. But yeah, I mean, in terms of America right now, nationwide, it's tough to find a solid employee that wants to stay with you because they're always looking for the next best thing. You can offer them
No,
28 an hour. Someone's offering them 21 an hour to do less work. It's a tough
yeah,
world right now.
it's definitely changed. There's no doubt about it. Have you found, Michael, are there any specific things that you're doing at Magic Home Restoration that help create a better environment for your employees that helps? We can always talk about money, but at the end of the day, that's not the only thing that keeps employees on your team, that keeps them from going elsewhere. What are some of the other things that you found are really helpful to keep those key team members from straying away?
Like I said, we're family oriented and very friendly. I'm an owner, but I've been on the field. I know how it is, and I know that those are the guys that make the world go round. That really bring our money in. Those are the ones that are out there busting their butt, working hard. So, I'm always helping employees. If there's not a lot of hours one week, I'm giving them hours. If I can buy them lunch, I'm buying them lunch. If I can help them, get a license back that they may have lost, I'm paying for that. I treat my employees almost like a family, a branch of my family, because that is at the end of the day what they are. They're your company family. They're your lifeblood. They're the ones out there front and center with your homeowners. They're the ones that are going to make the money for you. So where we're different is we don't have that giant corporation feel. We have that friendly home. This is where I want to stay. I want to grow with this company feel.
No, I love it. That's great. And I think nowadays that's also something a lot of people are looking for. It's, where do they fit in? Where do they feel like they're making a difference? You shared earlier how important it is in this industry in particular to want to serve others, because that's part of what you have to do. So great information you shared overall. One thing I love to ask kind of as a closing question, Michael, is, in your experience over the years you've been involved, what's the most bizarre thing that you've run into, that is still family friendly that we can share? Any interesting story or anything that comes to mind of
There's
something unique that you run into?
definitely been a lot. Family friendly. I'll go with this particular story. Went into a sewage job in Queens. Backup that nobody else wanted. It was definitely seven. It was 7 o'clock at night. Got the call. I was probably about 17 years old, so new in the business. Went out with my dad's main crew chief. We got there and we walk in, and it's a half inch of basically sewage backed up from the city. So we're walking in, and we're almost in a sewer where there's literal feces floating by, almost like a ant boat, and you could actually see little bugs floating on it, like it's almost a boat. That was one of my fun, nasty sewage jobs, but also, I mean, a hoarder cleanup, where it's a very, very, very tough situation because they are very attached to their stuff, and to you, sometimes it might just look like piles of garbage, but we call them deer trails in the industry because there's these piles stacked almost 4 feet high of newspaper, and you have to literally make channels through to get to where you need to go. And in this particular situation, it was a water damage where now there's standing water and deer trails. So it's interesting. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
my particular favorite situation, I used to be a bodybuilder. Met a homeowner whose father was actually someone who trained Lou Ferrigno and trained Arnold Schwarzenegger, was huge with the original Gold's Gym and everything. And she gave me his book that he wrote. So, like I said,
Oh,
in this,
wow.
it's very cool. You meet people that you have relations with that are, you end up making a bond with them because there's so much you can talk about, whether it's family, whether it's your hobbies, whether it's whatever it is. But there's some cool situations you end up in, and you learn a lot of history of the island, a lot of history in general, because people, they're older homeowners. They've been around for a while. It's always fun to have conversation and learn about, what the past brought to where we are today.
Oh, great share. Thank you so much. That's got to be really cool in a situation like that to get connected in with some of those heroes that you've looked up to over the years.
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Well, Michael, as people hear and if they identify and say, Magic Home Restoration sounds like somebody they want to work with, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you?
They can contact us by email at info@magichomerestoration.com. They can check out our website, www.magichomerestoration.com, or I am always available by phone at 631-428-0674. Anytime, 24/7. If you have an emergency, you can call us. Sometimes when you have a disaster, all you need is a little bit of magic.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Michael, again, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. I know you've got a lot going on, and we
Appreciate you
appreciate
guys
you taking
having me
time out
on.
of your day to share a little bit about what's happening. And yeah, so just thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate the talk.